Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Happy Hippy Me Wellness Wednesdays. My name is Wendy.
And I'm Pili Bailey.
And we are here tonight to talk about some fun, happy 2019, not so much goal setting, but what would you call it, Pili?
Just really looking and taking stock of where we are right now as we begin 2019. And I read a book, I guess it was last year, and it's how I kicked off last year. And it was the book called Abundance Now. And it's by Lisa Nichols. And it's really, it was a really good book to kind of help me to look at a few key areas of my life and really be able to diagnose and determine where I was on these key metrics in my life and in this overall picture of creating an abundant life. And so one of the first things that you have to do as you talk about creating an abundant life is really define what that is or what that means. And that's the way, the book really starts out, as she has to define what does abundance mean, because I think a lot of us have our preconceived ideas when we hear words, right? Based on how we were raised or what environments we were in.
Right.
We hear different words and they have different connotations. So when I say abundance, what connotation does that spark for you?
As soon as you say abundance, for some reason, and this always has been the way, I see a huge grocery bag, like those brown ones before we got all fancy back in the day, like when we were little. And I mean, at the top, you can barely you can't really close it because it's just so overflowing. It's just like, that to me is abundance. Like you see my arms are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
That has always been the visual that has come into my mind for that.
Right. And I like how you said overflowing. So that imagery of overflowing, there are things that overflow that are very victorious. Like I think of geysers, right? There's an abundance of water and it's just pouring forth, or, just so many things that we can think of, that imagery of flowing and of overflowing.
Right.
So yeah, when I first heard the word abundance, I actually kind of had to be like, I don't know if I want to read this. So the book was recommended by friends of mine, actually colleagues of mine, team members of mine, that we are working together on a business. And, they were like, let's all read this together, kind of like a team building exercise. And just abundance now. And I was kind of turned off by it. And, I was trying to really figure out why am I turned off by the word abundance? And I realized it's because I equated it so much with this, health, wealth, and prosperity gospel type of thing.
Got it.
And so it just kind of took me to a place where I was like, I'm not so sure about this. So I had my guard up when I first started to read the book. And then it really challenged me to identify the connotations I had attached to these words and why I had attached those, and really kind of, as I moved back towards, okay, what's the true essence of the meaning of this word, I was really able to embrace it in a whole new way.
That's so awesome.
No, I love it. I love the idea of living an abundant life, and what does that look like, and creating that abundance in my life and for the people around me, my clients, and the people that I work with, just really being able to create that abundant life. That's like a passion of mine. So Wendy and I talked about what are we going to do and how do we want to kick off 2019 with all of our Happy Hippy Me family. And so we thought, what better way than for all of us to take stock of where we are in 2019 and to kind of go through this. It's an abundance quiz. It's a personal quiz to really look at how are you living abundantly in some key areas of your life. So we're gonna jump into that in a little bit, but I think Let's see. For me, the idea of abundance, now, it really does mean in the flow. So I guess that word flow, right? Like I feel that it doesn't matter that as things are moving into and out of your life, it just feels like it's on a continuum of good. It's on a continuum of moving in the right path, the right direction.
I love that because actually, in the book we talk about sometimes, I normally have it sitting right here, but it's the one by Louise Hay, and she has all of the affirmations to break the negative thought pattern, which leads to different ailments, like physical ailments. So the one for Crohn's, believe it or not, is I am part of the perfect rhythm and flow of life. All is in divine right order. I never really thought about abundance as being flow, but it definitely is, because as things are constantly coming in, going out, you're good. You are full. You are good. So I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I guess in thinking about the key areas of your life, Lisa Nichols really set this up in about 4 key areas of our lives. And so I'm going to give you those 4 key areas, and then we're just going to take one of those areas tonight and just really dive into that and look at that. So the 4 areas. So go ahead.
Tonight is more of a diagnostic night.
Tonight is a diagnostic.
And right. And some goal mapping. Okay, so here we go.
Yes. So in terms of, in order for us to know where we want to go, we need to know where we are, right? You can't start out, when you look at a map, we were just at the zoo recently, and my son was navigating us around the zoo. And so when we were trying to figure out where we wanted to go, we walked up to one of those big maps, and there's that little symbol, right, that says what? You are here. Right?
I'm about to say monkeys. No, I'm playing. Right.
So you are here. You need to know where you are and in relation to where you want to go. You can't be, I want to get over there, but you have no idea where you are. How are you going to navigate there? So that's where we want to really start. And then we can go and move into the goals. So there's 4 key areas. Like I said, the first area is spiritual life. The second is relationships. The third is career and finances. And the fourth is health and wellness. So all of those areas being in alignment, I like to say alignment rather than balance, but all of those areas being in alignment is what can lead us to that abundant life. And the reason that we want to think about all of those areas as in alignment is because each one out of alignment will not lead you to that abundant life. All of those things need to be in that flow in order for it to really lead to that abundance that we're wanting to create in our lives. So sometimes we have people that really spend all their time focusing on the spiritual, but their relationships with other people are pretty damaged and not, deep or realistic or meaningful. Sometimes you have people who focus on that career and finance, and they're killing it, monetarily. But again, their relationships or their spiritual or their health is failing. So are they really truly living an abundant life? And, I think it can be different for each person. I think a lot of us think of, if I just have enough money, I will be fine. All the other things will melt away, but that's not necessarily true, and we do feel that sometimes. We like to think that the haves have it better than the nots, right? But at the same time, we're all in this life, and we have all these other areas that we want to that we need that are more valuable sometimes than even the monetary value. So,
right.
All right, let's go. Let's dive on in. So we're going to look at the spiritual life tonight. And I invite you all, as you're watching this, maybe you will, I would love for you to dial in with us here. I would love for you to follow along and even ask yourself some of these questions. And just like you saw Wendi grab her notebook and her pen, I would love for you to take a moment now to grab something to write with. Grab a warm beverage or some beverage of your choice, and just really settle in with us, because this is intended to be like a workshop. This is intended to be an opportunity for you to really dive into your 2019, to really dive into whatever year it is that you decide to tune into this video. But we're recording it in real time, 2019, January. So just really allow yourself to move in. And I want to open us up with just a small time of breathing and centering, just so that we can really get into the space for the topic that we're going to talk about. Are you okay with that?
Yes, of course.
All right, let's do it. So feel free to sit and just be comfortable where you are. If you feel safe and so inclined, feel free to close your eyes. As you close your eyes, allow your breath or your attention, your awareness to be towards your breath. Allow the breath to flow in and out through your nose. And allow that breath to fill and expand your lungs, your rib cage, your side ribs. And as you exhale, allow your consciousness to settle in deeper into your body. As we come into this time of really taking stock of where we are and where we want to be, it's important to know where you are right now. And so the first way that you can really tap into that is by tapping into your body, your embodied nature. Feeling the arms, the legs, the belly button as it moves gently with the breath. And as you move from the outer body towards a more subtle body, observe the breath as it moves in and through you. Now become aware of any emotions, any sensations or smells that you're observing, and allow them to move in and out of your consciousness as they will. Try to allow these thoughts as they come to just flow by without attachment or need to pick it up and pick it apart, but let it flow like twigs or leaves on a stream flowing past the bank. Observe now that there is a part of you that is recognizing that you are in your body. There's a part of you that's able to even pull back and recognize your thoughts. And that part of you that can observe without being transformed or changed by the fluctuations, that part of you is the part that is eternal. That part that is eternally spirit. It's your inner knowingness. And as we move into this time of diagnosing where we are in 2019, I invite you to tap in and allow this inner knowingness to guide your responses to the following questions. And as you feel ready, deepen your inhalation through your nose and exhale it out through your mouth with an ah. And then as you feel ready, begin to blink the eyes open, allowing the light to enter in softly and slowly, and returning to consciousness in the world. In this moment, how do you feel?
No, really good.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to tap into where we are spiritually. And so this is one of the 4 places in our abundance diagnostic. Where are we spiritually? So I'm going to ask a few questions, and these questions are rated on a scale. You would check either abundant, meaning that you're at the just absolute best place, adequate, meaning that, there's some room for improvement, but it's pretty good, or scarce. And that is really just, it's not happening. It's not flowing. I don't feel tapped in or connected. So again, try to stay in that place of hearing through the lens of your inner knowingness. Try to just quickly answer the questions without doing too much intellectualizing. Okay. So let the inner knowingness lead you. All right. So if you were to rate your connection to God, the source energy, the higher power, the universe, whatever it is for you, if you were to connect or to rate your connection with God, would it be abundant? Would it be adequate? Or would you feel scarce? The next question is, I take quiet time to restore my soul. The time available for this is abundant, adequate, or scarce. The next question is, I release my worries to God or to a higher power. My ability to do this is abundant, adequate, or scarce. Okay. The next one is, and I'm just going to grab one more. There are a few more, but I'm just going to grab one more. My eagerness to profoundly impact those who cross my path is abundant, adequate, or scarce. All right, so as you're really sitting with those questions, did anything come up for you?
I was definitely the third one about worry. That one, I was going to say, if I were ever to have been addicted to anything that was extremely harmful, it was worry. And though I can tell, I have made improvements. I mean, like, if this were a sliding scale, like where we can give pluses or minuses, I've moved from scarce and I'm much, much closer to adequate. Okay. And I know I'm getting closer to abundant in that area. And I almost put scarce just to kind of like overcorrect and give, because of that, because that work is still being done. And if we had done this maybe even 3 months ago, it would have been different. But I'm learning to, and this is, I think, part of eradicating worry, is just to give myself the encouragement from myself and the, hey, you just dealt with this a whole lot better than you would have dealt with this before, you know? Yeah. And I think sometimes I'm learning how not to feel disappointed when I feel the worry come on, even though the acting out of fear doesn't happen nearly as much, but still sometimes things come up that kind of cause worry. But I guess but the dwelt on part isn't as long. So anyway, that one was the only one that I think my score was not abundant. The other ones I felt pretty abundant about.
Yeah. And I wonder, do you feel if you feel worry, do you feel if you feel worry?
I know.
That you're somehow not trusting God? Or are you supposed to never feel worry? Is that the standard that you're holding yourself to? Or
I guess it's really the way of letting it. So no, not that you're never supposed to, or that I'm never supposed to have worry, because feeling concern or worry or like, that's telling me something. So that's like a natural thing. I don't ever want that to go away. Once I've processed it and talked about it with God and, did my own gut check, maybe like talk to you or just people that I'm close to with it. My ability to release it at that point, that's where it becomes a problem if I'm just like mulling over it. So, and I actually have gotten better at that point. So yeah, maybe it's more adequate.
Yeah, let's give ourselves an adequate,
Thank you for helping me process that one. Thank you. I was like, C-, anyway.
So I love these questions, and
they're really good.
They are, because they can really, highlight ways that you could really be living your spiritual life, because I think a lot of times people hear the word spiritual and they think, well, I'm not religious, but really it's like living in a spiritual way is living in a way that we recognize that ultimately we all are connected to a higher, or we're all connected to an energy, right? Yeah. So even if you are not a person that believes in a higher energy or a higher being, as Wendi likes to quote, energy is neither created nor destroyed, right? So everything is always connected. And so if we think and live in that way, then we're spiritual beings, and that spirit, that consciousness, that essence of us that can be conscious of all the things that's going on in the world and what's happening in our body and what's being said down the street, and
Right.
all of those things. We can observe our thoughts. We can observe, like, we can really pull back. So what is that observer? Where is that observer? That observer is the eternal essence, the eternal energy, that connects us to all things and all beings and all creation. And so
Did you feel abundant on all of them?
Oh no, but I am definitely, let's see, my connection to God is really doing quite well. I will give myself somewhere between adequate and abundant. And it's just recently, like really recently, there has been, like, when I did this quiz last year, I was like past scarce, right? It was, why hast thou forsaken me?
Right.
What is going on?
Right.
I take time to quiet. I take quiet time to restore my soul. The time available for this. Well, I am a mom of a young child. I am an entrepreneur. I am working with clients, and I'm constantly, I'm teaching yoga, working with clients. So my time is very, very, filled. Looking for a very positive word. My time is very filled. So for a while, I felt very scarce on the time available to restore my soul. And I had a very narrow view of what that quiet time looked like. Because when I was single and not married, I would go in the cave for 4 hours, a day, and just be spiritually restoring my soul. And to have to shift that to, the first few waking moments in my bed before I open my eyes so nobody knows that I'm awake, and I can kind of, get my moments that way, or, going for my walk after I have done the morning routine and drop people off, so I've had to reframe what it looks like. And it took me a long time to be able to recognize that was my quiet time. That was my restored soul time. Because before, I would just, if it doesn't look like it used to look in the past, then I just can't, I guess I just can't get it. I just can't do it. And I was definitely on the scarce place there. I release my worries to the higher power, to God. My ability to do this, I would say, is adequate, because I feel that is the I don't know. I feel like that's like the human condition, right? We constantly go back and forth between, yes, I know my God is with me, and oh my God, why have you forsaken me? And oh my God, he's amazing, and oh my God, I'm all by myself.
Yes.
So it's the pendulum that we swing on that one. And so I'm just going to put myself in the adequate category there. I willingly which we didn't do that. I willingly, let's see, what was the next one I did?
Eagerness. I loved that question.
My eagerness to profoundly impact those who cross my path is, I'm feeling very abundant by this one. I just have really recognized that my calling is one to help people who are in pain. Yes. And help them to release that pain in a, in a very holistic way with, the skills that I have. And so I just am excited for the people that are going to be attracted to me because of my eagerness to serve, and my eagerness to help, and my eagerness to bring healing in people's lives who are experiencing deep pain. So that is definitely an abundant place for me.
I thought that question was, I was not expecting it. Before I go, I'll just go backwards. So for number 4, I did put abundant because, as you and I were talking earlier, one of my gifts is in marketing. I got a whole degree in it, and I got sick immediately after I got that degree. And it was like grand opening, grand closing. Like, it was, I'm not making light of the sickness, but what I am is trying not to make it sound too grave either, because there was a lot of good and all kinds of stuff during that whole journey of cancer recovery. But what I can say is it took a long time, like, to get back into remembering, like, wow, like, I enjoy this. Like, I naturally have a knack to see how this branding thing and how, like, this story thing is. And so I've been talking to a lot of people. I've always been really big on people expressing their voice and being honest and true to what their voice is and understanding their inherent power. But I kind of stopped it at that, opposed to getting into like because I had to do more research as well into like our new ways of expressing, like what we're doing now, the vlog and podcasting and all of that kind of stuff. So being able to really put that in a package to say, hey guys, this is how you do it. This is why it's so cool. This is why you don't have to be Justin Bieber to do it. You can do it, and so I feel very, very confident and abundant in that way. I also was adequate in the getting time to recharge, just because I don't always have, maybe I'm not recognizing. I love what you said about recognizing your moments and being different. So sometimes in the newer aspects of my life with work and home and driving and a lot of traffic, I'm starting to find new ways to have my alone time. And abundant for the first one, though, with the connection. And the reason I said that is because I constantly am seeing what it is that we're talking about. That first question about your connection with God or your higher being. I'm constantly seeing evidence of things that I'm thinking about. Like, it's at the point where I'm not even necessarily writing it down or talking about it, and it's popping into my vibration. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So that's it.
I've definitely, I've been spending a lot more time in my car as well. And because of that, really the journaling, I used to really love to journal. I haven't really had as much time to journal. And so as I'm driving, that's usually where like the moments of connection, the moments where I'm like, oh my goodness, I just saw how this and this and this came together. And oh, wow, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much. And so the other day I had my phone, and so I just clicked voice memo, and I literally just left myself a gratitude message and just talked myself through how all these pieces have just come together and how grateful I am. And it was really just a stream of consciousness thing, but I was inspired to do this as a way of having something to go back to and listen to and remember.
I love that.
And I feel like it's going to be even more powerful because it's going to be in my own voice.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that.
That's smart. I like that. Gratitude voice messages.
I heard it on a podcast, and I don't remember. I think it was on the Yoga Girl podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Ooh. So, all right, teacher. So what's the next thing? So after we've diagnosed where we are, we're talking a little bit about goal setting. Do we want to go there on this one, or?
Yeah, this is it's so hard because I really love the flow that we're in, and I love the space that we're in. So really I need to check in with you to say, do you feel like you're in that place where you want to move to another area, or do you want to stay with the spiritual and then kind of set a goal in that spiritual category? What do you feel like?
I'm thinking the setting a goal in the spiritual category. And even if we don't go all the way into it, how do we set this goal?
Well, I would say that as we're kind of looking at our spiritual life and we're kind of taking this snapshot, and, what is something that what would abundance in spirituality look like, feel like? How would you know that you've reached abundance in spirituality? And really just kind of paint that picture in your mind. And then you will have an idea of where the goal is, or where, how far you are from it.
I like that. I have some ideas.
Okay. I love it. So, okay, if I were to say where my goal is, I've been having a really hard time going to a church. I go to church occasionally, and this is the first time in my life that I haven't really been going to church very, regularly.
Right.
I mean, I worked for a church for like, I don't know, 7-9 years, so it was just very much a part of me and my culture and my life and all these things, and that changed. But what hasn't changed is my devotion, my desire to be connected to God. And for me, God has a personage, he has a name, and I know who I believe, to be that God. And so I want connection, spiritually connected, loving, and deeply rooted connection. But I'm also kind of resistant to some of the more mainstream interpretations of my faith. So it's very difficult for me. And I know I'm not alone. And I know there are many, many people like me. And I miss that spiritual community. I miss that spiritual communion. And so one of my goals this year is to really tap into spiritual community. And I feel like I do that. Obviously, I do that with you, Wendi. I have some really strong girlfriends that I've been reaching out to recently that, we're kind of reconnecting. And I think we're all feeling that same pull towards a community that's rooted in spirituality, where we can really devote to, God, but where it's not the trappings of the Sunday morning and all the things that go along with the Sunday morning. But, so I've reached out to a couple of my girlfriends, and I've gotten some yeses and some invitations to a few things. So I feel like my spiritual journey is going to look a bit different, this year. It's definitely going to be deeper. It may not necessarily be a, Sunday morning journey. It might be, a Friday night, or, it might be via Skype with my girls, however it's going to be. But I do know it's going to be beautiful. So
I think that's beautiful. And I was just kind of almost like giggling, that whole communion thing you said on Sunday. My mom just texted, or my little sister just texted communion to our family group text out of nowhere. But it was funny because that morning I had started getting into Joyce Meyers. I like her new stuff that she's talking about is after she's gone through some, I guess you can say, deliverance of just self-love kind of stuff. And that's what she's talking about it from a Christian perspective. And it really hit home for me in particular. And she said that, on the day of the week, she'll read the chapter of Proverbs, because there's 31 books of, 31 chapters in Proverbs. She'll read one chapter each day of the month, if nothing else, and just like sit and like spend time with God. And I thought that was such a great way to be ushered back in to just spending more time with God. Because sometimes we have a little church community that meets once a month, but it's not always, it's once a month. And then sometimes you can't make that one day. But I totally get that, because when you said communion, we had the best Sunday. And it was great because it was right before I went back to work after a long break. So it was great.
Yeah.
It was
And I
very
think
energizing.
one of the things that I recognize too is that spirituality and devotion to God is not relegated to one day a week or one room or one locale or one location. And so I feel like maybe the church doors have just sprung open, and now we have all these little, free range, God lovers out there that are taken to the mountains for their,
Right.
church. They're walking the Rose Bowl for their church. They're,
Yeah.
talking on the phone, calling up girlfriends, reading
Having
books
coffee
and
dates or
having
tea or
coffee.
whatever.
And, it's where the Spirit of the Lord is, right? It's where God is. That is most important. And even I've been listening very slowly through the book of the autobiography of a yogi, which is so powerful. But it's interesting because you can see the devotedness to God of a yogi. It's part of the yogic makeup, right? So even if that yogi is not a religion follower, right? There is, even just in the very tenets of what yoga is, it's a connectedness of your immutable spirit to the unchanging, all-knowing, eternal spirit. Like that's what yoga is. And it's a desire to get you back into communion and recognition of we are one, as opposed to this fragmented, we're divided by our color, our gender, our race, our religion. We're disconnected from the ground and the plants and the trees and the earth and the oceans. We're disconnected from so many things because we have lost the sight of the fact that we are actually in union with the one God, the one Spirit. So that's what yoga is designed for. It's to tear away the blinders and take the scales away from the eyes.
I'm so happy you said that, because all of the distractions in our world, I know how powerful yoga is. And I love practicing with you. Like, that's like the top. However, when I can't be with you and I'm like here at home, I find it so hard to quiet my mind enough to just lately to just do yoga. I used to be so in a connection and alignment. And so that wasn't one of the questions, but that might be one of my journeys back to spirituality, is being able to shift and just say, okay, this stuff I'm putting down, giving myself permission to be in that space and do that alignment, that communion. I think that's why it's been so tough, because turning all those other things, all those other fragments off is kind of hard lately.
It's hard. And you have that. So when we did the opening and we did the breathing, were you able to feel that alignment, that center in?
I was able to feel it, but then right now when you were talking about what yoga is, my lower back literally got warm. Like I felt the alignment happening then. I was just listening to you. Like, I don't know, like what I even look like. I'm like zoned out just listening to you say that. I'm like, but I'm really like,
because you feel it, you're embodying it. You have experienced the flow when everything is in alignment. You've experienced the feeling, and maybe even not having the words to describe it, but your body, you have experienced it somatically. So you know it, but maybe not having the vocabulary for it. But even when you hear it, your body recognizes truth. And so you got the resonance of it in your back, warming it up,
Literally.
Yeah.
This is dope, man. This is great. So that, I guess, I'll just leave it at that. That'll be my journeying right now. How I'm going to go. That's my goal. Yeah.
That's great.
I love that.
I love that. And we want to hear from you guys also. What are your goals spiritually in this region? How do these questions resonate with you? If you're interested in knowing more about this book, about the quiz. I highly recommend getting the Abundance Now book by Lisa Nichols, and would love for you to just really dive into that. And then we're going to be coming back next week.
Right.
And we're going to dive into the second area. We're going to go through the questions, and we're also going to set a goal in that area of our life. And we would love for you guys to join us. I'm not sure if it's going to be alive. It might be alive on Facebook.
Yeah,
we'll have to talk about it.
Post this one, and then that'll be alive. But that'll be something that people can look forward to. At the very least, we will leave you the link in the description for the diagnostic, so you can see what the questions are. And definitely get that book. One more time, Pili. It's called Abundance Now.
Abundance Now by Lisa Nichols.
By Lisa Nichols. Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for joining us once again. Wendi, Pili. And we're signing off until next week. Thank you so much.
Don't forget to click subscribe.
Absolutely.
On the button, and make sure that you're getting notifications so you'll know when we drop our next video.
Yes, and share.
Please share.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.